Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Lee Davy. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. How you doing? It's been another very busy week. We had a fabulous Sober by the Sea last weekend, our little event, our little retreat. Just a few of us the people who managed to make it there with shortages of fuel, but a few people managed it, and it was a great event. And the sun even came out. We were so lucky, really, really lucky. And of course now it's gone really seriously autumnal, don't you think? I guess that's fair enough, as it's October. If you are doing Sober October, by the way, I mentioned this last week that I think these weeks are okay. You know, they're good in the sense that we're focusing on ditching the booze. That can only be a good thing. But I just think it'd be even better if people focus not on what they're giving up, but everything they're gaining. So if that's you, if you are thinking of doing Sober October, or maybe you started today, started on the 1st, then we've got a little guide, a free guide. It's actually some of the info, some of the bits of the first lesson of my Get the Buzz Without the Booze course. In the Sober Club, we have an online course, which is like a 90-day course. And the first lesson tries to encourage you to answer some really important questions for yourself, because it's interesting. We sometimes don't even voice the question. We don't even voice the stuff we're really worried about, when we know there's important behaviour change to be made. So there's just a free download. You don't even have to give us your email address. You just click on it, and you can download this kind of PDF document that you can fill in. It's very cool, and just ask yourself these questions, and just see if you are in fact ready to rock with this, ready to make the change and go sober maybe for even longer than just October. One of my recommendations, of course, that I talk about both in the Get the Buzz Without the Booze course and in the Sober Club and in my book Happy Healthy Sober, is my suggestion that you do look after that part of your unconscious mind that wants to feel grown up. And you've all heard me say that phrase, keep the ritual, change the ingredients. Accept that as an adult, rituals are important. Doing the thing that you always do is important. So if that means having a nice drink at the end of a busy day, or as soon as the sun goes over the yard arm or whatever, then absolutely do that. But of course, make that an alcohol-free drink. It's utterly ridiculous that the word drink has to mean alcohol. And if you're socialising, of course, one of the great things that is that's changed is that there are so many great alternatives now. One thing you can almost always find, whether you're going to take your own to a party or drink at home or go in a bar, is a great alcohol-free beer. And I wanted to talk about this great brand who we've teamed up with called Jump Ship Beer. They were inspired by a love of beer and a love of sailing. And the founder of Jump Ship Brewing, Sonia, actually sailed to various corners of the world and fulfilled this lifelong ambition to taste as many amazing beers as possible. But she had a busy family life and work, and was looking for these alternative full-flavoured beers, minus the alcohol and the fuzzy head. It was proven to be a challenge, so she, wait for it, jumped ship from the day job and set off on a voyage of discovery to help more people enjoy great tasting beer without the booze. So it's such a great brand. They've got 3 unique beers. They're gluten-free and vegan. That's so important. I have so many queries from people who say, well, great that you recommend alcohol-free beer, but, I'm gluten-free. Well, what do I do? So here you go. They're lovingly made in small batches, no more than 0.5% ABV. And I just said, what it was I just said, have a drink when the sun goes over the yardarm. They've actually got a beer called Yardarm. That's their flagship beer. Fabulous name. And this one's got the full flavoured finish of a well-balanced IPA. They describe that as zesty, biscuity, and bitter. And then they've got the Flying Colours one, which is a pale ale, a rich kind of amber colour, fruity flavour, and a kick of lime, and that bitter finish again. And then the Goosewing IPA. That's their newest release. That's an IPA with hints of mandarin and mango. So great brand, lovely funky cans, and they're committed to give at least 10% of their profits to charity, and they minimise the impact of production. So their cans are quite kind of lightweight, easy to recycle. And then also I was reading about this company that the grain that's left over from their brewing goes to a farmer to feed his cattle. So I bet the cattle love it. So check them out. I think we've got a competition to win some too. So check out Jump Ship Beer. Put all the links in the show notes as always. I thought that this week it would be great for me to just have a natter with someone I love jiving with. I love chatting to Lee Davy. I've done a few podcasts with Lee. He's the founder of 1,000 Days Sober, of course. And although we've never actually met in real life, we love our Zoom chats. So nothing was planned for this conversation. So we go off on all kinds of tangents, let me tell you. And we don't kind of fall about laughing quite as much as we usually do. We actually get a little bit serious in this one. But anyways, I hope you'll enjoy the conversation. We do touch a fair bit on how to avoid cross addiction, and that is something that comes up a lot with people that I coach one-to-one and the people that talk to me in the Sober Club. So I really hope there's a few helpful insights here. Yay, I'm chatting to Lee Davy. Yay, amazing, from 1,000 Days Sober. It's not really an interview, is it? It's just a chat, right?
Yeah,
I'm not interviewing you.
It's a chin wag. It's a chin. What's the book on your printer?
Oh, well, that's mine. That's Happy, Healthy, Sober. What do you mean, what's your book? Or is that you doing a nice little plug for me? Haven't you read it yet? Have you not read it, Lee? Oh, come on.
I gotta be honest. I haven't read any. I haven't read any quit lit books since I quit. I don't.
Yeah,
think.
But mine's different. Everyone says that, don't they? Mine's all about kind of optimum well-being. So.
What happens afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there is some how to stop, but a lot of the book is, and also don't forget, I've got loads of other experts in there, amazing people who are kind of sharing stuff on mindset and meditation and nutrition and everything.
I remember you telling me about that. Well, congratulations. It's not easy to write a book.
I know.
I've never written one.
Yeah, I mean, it's been out a while now, but it's kind of, having come out, it came out just at the end of lockdown. It's not the easiest time to release a book, really, when the kind of people's thoughts were somewhere else. Anyways, How are you doing, and what's life like for you? I haven't spoken to you in ages.
Life could be a bit of a nightmare if I was in a different state of disposition. Let's say if I was drinking, I would be struggling right now. So basically, let me do this really quickly. So I've been in LA for nearly 2 years now.
Wow.
So basically, I had a B1, B2 visa that allowed me to be here for 6 months. I had flights to go back to the UK. We had to cancel them because my daughter had COVID-like symptoms, and she was only 3 at the time. Can get that right? Yeah, 3 or 4. And this is all within our 6-month window. We then went to reapply for the flight, reschedule it. But the UK and the US government had grounded everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, I'm going to end up going over my 6-month stay. So I applied for an extension, which is something called an I-539 in the US. They received it within my 6 months. So then I'm waiting for them to respond back to me. And Liza said, why don't we just live here? Right. Zia's getting to that age where she's going to have to go to school. So I said, okay. So I applied for a green card. Now, once you apply for an extension, you can't leave the US. Once you apply for a green card, you can't leave the US, right?
What, for a period of time, you mean?
No, you just cannot leave until it's done. right?
Okay.
And you cannot work there, obviously, because you don't have a work permit, right?
Yeah.
So then I hired somebody to do the paperwork for me. And then on September 2nd, like almost 18 months after I'd like applied, they denied it because I'd filled a form in incorrectly.
Oh, God.
And then also told me that I was here illegally because I had applied outside of my 6-month window, completely ignoring the extension that I'd applied for, which, by the way, it took them 18 months to say no to the extension. So you apply for the extension, It takes them 18 months to tell you no. So then they're like, yeah, get out of the country and don't come back for 10 years.
What? Oh,
yeah.
No.
Because I didn't fill one form in.
Oh, no.
So I said, so the last couple of days in particular have been very stressful because we've been weighing up the pros and cons about leaving and having a 10-year ban and staying. And it's very, very, very stressful because, like, if you leave, it's likely I'll never see my in-laws alive ever again. And they're very close to me. They're in their 80s now. And if I stay, it's very difficult for me to work and earn the money to support my family. So it's been really, really stressful. However, I just come out of the end of a 6-month, really intense coaching container called Elementum. And luckily I did that because it's been stressful, but I've been able to handle it. Do you know what I mean? And I've been able to handle it. So, and that's something I wanted to talk about today, actually, is that the difference between stopping drinking alcohol and then thinking like life's golden, and
absolutely.
And the difference between that and then quitting alcohol and then really, really working hard on yourself.
Absolutely.
Like the differences are incredible.
I know, it's so true. It's like, that when you're a pop star and you think, okay, all I need is a record deal and then everything's going to be fantastic. But you've got to produce the bloody album. And then you got the difficult second album. So but yeah, no, I get it completely. I think in at the beginning, most of us do have that kind of expectation that if we finally do crack this, and we have that, some of us have that, get that kind of pink cloud for a bit, don't we, where we think, well, now that's it, now everything's going to be amazing, and we sort of expect the unicorns and the rainbows to appear, but of course life can still be shit, right?
Yeah. And I think for a lot of us, that change when we stop drinking is so monumental. It's so powerful. I mean, I don't know about you, Janey, but I looked around and I was like, oh shit, like I'm the only person I know who's done this other than my granddad. Like I'm the only person who's done it. That is so powerful. And I rode that crest of the wave, I would say, for 10 years. And then actually what I did in those 10 years is I created a new path of least resistance. So I'm in the matrix. I'm in this path of least resistance. I stop drinking. And then I come out and I go up a few levels in terms of consciousness and evolution and all that kind of stuff. But then I just get into a new groove of comfortableness.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, it's like, oh, okay, so this marriage is falling apart and we're not drinking. I thought it was drink that caused the first marriage to fall apart.
Yeah. I know it's true. You can't, for most people, you can't just in inverted commas ditch the booze, and then you got to, everything has got to keep unraveling those layers. There's always those layers to come off, aren't there? Yeah. So but basically, it sounds like you've really got a sense of your own resilience now.
Yeah, I would say I've been since lockdown. So what happened was when COVID hit, I decided to double down on my investing in my education. And so that's what I use my bounce back loan for. I invested it in coaching. So I've been deep coaching for the last 18 months. And the type of coaching that I chose coaches who believe that you cannot take your client way of not being yourself. So you go into this really deep coaching container where you're actually coaching other coaches and being coached hundreds and hundreds of hours really going deep into your shadows of your inner child stuff, your trauma stuff, your sexual blocks, and a whole 9 yards, so you can actually do the work yourself. And then you've got all that knowledge and experience and ability, and of course they teach you the skills to then help other people. And I say what happened to me out of that, you have a project. You can choose a business project for 6 months, like I want to make 100K a month, or you can choose what they call a soul line project. So my soul line project was, I want to be more present and be closer to my 4-year-old daughter, because I found that she was triggering me, Janey, and I was shouting at her and I was losing my temper with her. And then that in turn meant that it was disconnecting me from my wife. So I did that soul project, and then kind of like halfway through it, I realized, actually, I cannot do this project because it has to be a co-parenting project. So I changed it, and it was like, my project was then, how can me and Liza co-parent Zia from a more greater state of presence? And it changed everything. In those 6 months, my relationship with my wife and my kids is unrecognizable. Like, we're just so in love. I am not activated or triggered by them like I used to be. Like, for example, like in these stressful times now with the immigration, I would be taking it out on my kids and my wife, not knowing I'm doing it, but I would be doing it. So I think a good example is, you have a trigger when someone has a trigger and they want to drink alcohol, and they're like, oh my God, I can't handle this, I need to go drink. Right. So we were taught to trigger ourselves. So we were taught to think of like a traumatic memory and locate that pain in our body and increase it and increase it and increase it and increase it until you get on the threshold of your window of tolerance or just beyond it. And then use self-regulation tools to bring yourself back down to a state of social engagement, or like parasympathetic nervous system. So you're calm again, right? So they were teaching you to self-regulate, which meant I had a greater window of tolerance, a greater emotional body. So the little things my wife used to do to bug me, or Zia, they just don't bug me anymore. They just hit me, and I absorb them, and I don't respond. Why this is so incredible to me is I created a business, 1000 Days Sober, and the Strive Method, purely head work, change the way you think about drinking. And it was amazing. Like 62% of people still not drinking after a year, just in the head. And now I'm like, holy shit, like I didn't even know how to feel emotionally. I didn't know how to get into my body. I kept running to my head as a solution-orientated species because of education. Now I'm able to serve my clients in, I would say, a fucking 1000x more value than I've ever been able to do in the past,
Yeah. Fantastic. And I guess, I mean, this will all come out in the wash, right? It'll all get sorted out, your immigration stuff.
Work yourself out.
And I guess, I suppose it just comes back to that, the sobriety just underpins everything, doesn't it? Really underpins literally everything.
Everything. In my case, yeah.
I think that's kind of the message that I'm always trying to get across, really, to people. Is I think it's quite interesting. I've had a few conversations with people who they sort of see there's a bit of a trend thing around sobriety. I mean, we're just about to come to, obviously, it's Sober October now, and there's this trend that sobriety is a kind of a wellness trend, if you know what I mean. So I'm sure you've seen all that kind of marketing, and I kind of don't know how I feel about things like Sober October, particularly when they're promoted like that, when they're promoted as, get yourself healthy, do a detox for a month and give some money to charity kind of vibe. And it for me, it's sort of, I mean, of course, I'm glad that that there's any awareness. There's any awareness is good, and obviously, I think it's good that it makes it easier for people, because if they are going out and about, then other people will be doing it as well. So I get that. The social side, you're not going to be as likely to be sober shamed, I suppose. But it kind of downplays it And I just don't think sobriety is the same as choosing to, do a boot camp or go on a raw food diet. It's not a fad thing. It's not a short-term thing. It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your view of these kind of months?
I mean, before we slip into the month things, when you said that sobriety underpins everything, just want to comment on that a little bit, because I think it's really important to the listeners, is if you follow the logic that behind every decision to drink alcohol is an emotion driving that decision, right? So we drink because we want to experience joy. We drink because we want to escape grief. We drink because we feel sad. We drink because we are angry. Like, there's always an emotion there.
Yeah.
And it's our inability to healthily channel and experience that emotion that gets us in a knot, right? So most of us, particularly our age, have been programmed that, you're not allowed to be happy. You're not allowed to be sad. You're not allowed to just shut the fuck up and go to bed, right? Just get out of my way. Like, stop this emotion stuff. So even I find with clients, you say, how do you feel? And they can't even name the emotion.
No, we're not in touch with our emotions at all.
Not at all, right? So if you follow that logic through, then what will happen is at some point when you get to your teenage years, you'll start to drink and you'll start to use alcohol as a compensatory strategy to deal with heightened emotions that your body can't handle. So if that then becomes a compensatory strategy, then every time you get really super happy or you want to be happy, you think of alcohol. When you're really, really sad, or you're grieving, or you're anxious, or you're afraid, or you feel shame, you'll drink alcohol. So when you say that sobriety underpins everything, in that context, it does. If you're using it as a compensatory strategy, then you're never going to be able to self-regulate, because human nature is always wanting the easy, quick fix. And we don't think long term. You always want that marshmallow, right? So you're always going to go to alcohol. If you stop drinking alcohol, then you have to feel the full range of emotions, and you have to find a different way of regulating. So I just wanted to say that, because I think what Janey says is really important. Sobriety will underpin everything. Now, you stop drinking and don't do the work to learn self-regulation, then the next thing you do, you'll be watching porn, you'll be gambling, you'll be sitting in front of Netflix eating donuts, you'll be complaining and moaning and groaning about COVID. Like, you'll find something else as a compensatory strategy to soothe you. So like, really super important. On the monthly fad things, here it's two things. I'm with you. Like, more awareness the better. So that's pretty cool, right? So if we just pick on October, well, first of all, it is me explaining how much I care about these things. I have an organization that I help people quit alcohol. I'm not even mentioning Sober October. If I hired a marketing person, they'd be slamming me now, saying, why aren't you doing that? I just don't even think about it. So there you are for that. But I think with less people drinking in October, great. It means people are getting less sick. It means less pressure on our health services, particularly at a time when they're needed more than ever with COVID. It means that people in the household, kids are getting battered less, wives are getting battered less, mental illness will reduce for us a little bit. So yay, great, go and do your thing, right? Like, I don't mind it in that context. However, on a wider philosophical debate around, what are we really doing, right? What are we really doing here? It's like if you read like Bronnie Ware's 5 Regrets of the Dying,
I love that book.
You just got to look at those 5 things and say, okay, all right, so what have I got to do and who have I got to be in order for me to avoid those mistakes that seem to be pretty universal? And then alcohol just becomes a small but very important part of who do you want to be and how do you want to behave? What are the values? All this kind of stuff, right? So one of my coaches always says to me, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So it for me, it's, like if you say to someone, do you meditate? And they say, well, no, I'm a meditator. Like, I don't meditate. I always meditate. I don't have to like put it in my calendar. Like, I'm a meditator, right? So I like that when it comes to drinking alcohol. So we toyed around this in the Strive community at 1000 Days Sober. What do we call ourselves? And we call ourselves people who don't drink alcohol. Like we don't drink alcohol, right? That's what we call ourselves. But if you just stop drinking in October and then you drink in November, what are you doing? Like, for me, it's a state of being.
Yeah.
It's a state of being less than I'm just going to stop getting smashed this month, and then I'm going to hit it again hard in November. What would people do if it was like sober December?
Yeah.
Like there's a reason they don't call it sober December, because everyone would be like, fuck you, I'm not getting being sober in December. I got me parties and all that to go to. January is great because everyone's got an hangover anyway, and October is like, October's just like one of those crappy months that nobody even knows exists, right? So I don't know, like I think it's okay, but for me, it's I look at it in a different way. I'm looking at it and thinking, who am I? Who am I? And what do I want to be? And how does alcohol and my consumption of it define that?
Yeah. Well, that's a really important point as well to chat about, because again, I think that this whole thing of when you've ditched the booze, some people have to really find a way of stepping into that new identity, because for a while you don't really know who you are. You're all over the shop, because you haven't done any of that work, obviously.
Yes,
but quite a long time can go by, and people can just feel they actually really don't know who they even are. And obviously, if your friends have fallen away, or your social situation is different, your work situation might be different, and if you were defined by drinking or by being the party girl or guy, it's like, oh my God, I'm a whole different person now. And I think that can kind of take some reconciling with people sometimes. They have to be reminded that that's okay. And maybe you might even start to like yourself as different person that you didn't even know you were.
Well, part of our training in the Elementum Coaching Institute, and it was a real game changer, is something called internal family systems. It was created by Dr. Richard Schwartz in the 80s. And everything that I teach people around being someone that doesn't drink alcohol, at the very epicenter of that is my personal experience. So it was always like, how can I teach people my personal experience of being someone who doesn't drink alcohol, and I hope that it sticks with them. Like some of it does, because we're all very different human beings, right? And back in the day, I identified that my biggest foe was resistance. I called it resistance, and then over time that I called resistance ego. So then I recognized it as my ego. And then I recognized it as my false self. So I had this theory that there's my true self. So when my father's sperm hits my mom's egg, the zygote is formed. And within that zygote is the perfect blueprint of Lee Davy, right? Like, given the right kind of like nutrients, like if an acorn to an oak tree, if I get the right kind of natural elements hitting that zygote, I'm going to shine, right? So that's my true self. But then when I come out in the world, people don't want you to be your true self, right? And then ego comes in, false self, to protect you, right? So that was where I was until I learned about Richard Schwartz's work, and they taught us how to help our clients with internal family systems. And it's very apt here, right? So when you want to drink alcohol, let's say you stop drinking alcohol. So let's say you just do one of Janey's programs or one of my programs, you just listen to this podcast. A lot of people just listen to podcasts and they listen to it consistently and they just stop drinking. And it's like, yeah, great, I stopped drinking. Now, here's a crucial part that I want you to backtrack if you're in that space. So if you've done this alone, I want you to start thinking about this, right? There is a part of you inside your brain, inside your body, a part of you that wants to drink or wanted to drink. And what Schwartz teaches you is you need to learn to grow a relationship with that part from true self. So you need to learn or be taught or coached to find your true self. So just literally hand on your nutrients canal and get yourself into a meditative space to focus on that real essence of who you are, right? So now you're at true self. And then let's just say I shared this example on Instagram the other day, right, with my client. So he went to a wedding. Is it okay for me to
yeah, of course.
to rattle?
Yeah.
So this client of mine, he went to a wedding and he hadn't drunk for a while doing one-on-one work, and then he got smashed. And then he had another wedding the week after, and he had a session with me. And he said, I don't want to drink again. So I said to him, close your eyes. We did a guided meditation, took him out of his head and into his body, right? Which I couldn't do before because I didn't even think there was such a thing, because I was always in my head. And I got him to tap into true self. And let's call him Lionel. I said, okay, Lionel, what happened? What part of you wanted to drink? Connect with that part. And he connected with that part, and it was a feeling in his chest. And we invited the feeling to come into a living room. We envisioned a living room in his head, and we invited the feeling to come in to take a seat on a chair. And when it took a seat on a chair, it took form, and it was a younger version of him. And we called this part the protector. And it turned out that this protector really wanted to drink because he was worried that if he didn't, we would be unsafe. Right. So he was telling Lionel, and like, I have to drink because if I don't drink, nobody will like you at this wedding. Right. They will not like you, Lionel. So Lionel's like, with my guidance, right? Who is it that they won't like? And this protector actually didn't say Lionel. The protector said there's another part of you that they won't like. So we did a bit of more work. We asked this part to leave the living room and go in a waiting room. And then we asked this other part to come out. And it was an old part of his that when he was very, very young, he got bullied in school. And in one particular day, these kids closed the door so no teachers could see, and they battered him, 4 or 5 kids. As they were battering him, they were calling him Pikachu. It was a name that he didn't like. It represented a freak where he lived. So we talked to this part, and he loved this part. And there's a lot of tears, right? He stepped in and loved and held this part, recognized this part, okay, and said, what is it you want to do? And this part said, I just want to play. I just want to be who I am, right? So then we invited the protector part in, and we said to the protector part, hey, you've been looking after, this Pikachu, for all these years. Thank you. Thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for taking those drinks. Thank you for getting drunk and keeping us safe. I really respect you. But this is a big burden. Do you really want to carry that burden? And the protector part said to Lionel, no, I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to keep having to protect Pikachu. So he said, well, do you want to unburden? And he said, yeah. He said, how do you want to unburden? I want to unburden by a fire. So we just went through a little ritual with his eyes closed of creating a contract with all the things that he had to protect him. People won't like you. People will think you're stupid. People will think you're weird. People will think you're a freak. And we burnt it. And then we said to the protector, do you want a different role? And he said, yeah. So the key is to get the parts to trust true self. And in this session, they did. So Lionel was able to say to the protector part, why don't you just warn me when you're feeling a little bit anxious? And then I've got it. I'll take over, right? Yeah. And then we said to Pikachu, at this wedding, we're going to let the freak flag fly. We're going to show everybody that we're a freak. And I'm telling you, that's okay. We're not 7, 8 anymore. Yeah. I'm 45 and I'm able to take care of you. He went to the wedding and he danced sober. He had a great laugh. He didn't drink a thing, right? Now, I think it's really important to do that kind of work, to understand, because think about it. Let's say we don't do that work. And he literally white knuckles it to 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And he's still not drinking. And now he's not drinking. He's made it like me. I'm never going to drink. He's just made it, right? He still has that little Pikachu within him. Yeah. Who's desperate to be seen. And he still has a protector trying to protect him who doesn't want Lionel to be his true self. So he's still walking around this earth with a mask on. He's still got protective armor on. And he can't, and he's wondering to himself, why can't I just live life? And he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. He's like, I've given up drinking. I'm reading all the books. I'm working out in the gym. What's going on? Because he's in his head. It's like, because we're taught in school to outthink your way out of problems. Yeah. If you don't get an A in problem solving, then you're thick as shit and you're not worthy, right? Like, so anyone out there, listen, Dr. Richard Schwartz, he's got a book called No Bad Parts. It's excellent. And, if you want to do that kind of work, get yourself hold of an IFS specialized trainer. It's amazing. You do a lot of good to you.
It sounds very similar in some ways to family constellations, which I think we've spoken about before, which is some massively important work that I did years ago, and some training that I'm going to do. In fact, I'm interviewing Mark Wolin, who is the author of It Didn't Start With You, which is a very cool title. You got it. Book, I'm gonna. How cool. Well, you'll be chuffed to know that I'm going to interview with him. So I'm really looking forward to that. Super excited.
Yes.
Because I'm a really big fan of family constellations, and it's a massive topic. It's not easy to unpick these things in a few sentences, but I think when people can realize that some of the stuff they're carrying isn't just because of what you said last week or last year.
So when you talk about Mark Wolin, then are you talking about, for example, my biological father left when my mum was 18.
Yeah.
So it's likely that the way she dealt with that incident hormonally and emotionally got passed on through her blood to me, into my cellular structure.
There is a whole epigenetics arm to it, definitely. Literally there you are literally carrying within your cells stuff from your family of origin, and even before that, generations past.
Generationally.
That's when it gets really super exciting.
The Holocaust.
Absolutely. I mean, I've done some constellations where, it's the most unbelievably powerful stuff to watch. I remember one where there was a woman who was, her kind of issue that she was presenting with was that she was binge eating, overeating, and she felt that she actually was really, I think the expression was, she was curvaceous. She certainly wasn't obese, but she was really very upset with herself, and she was binge eating. And the constellation showed that her family had been in a famine, her Italian ancestors. And it was just the most incredible thing to watch. And the constellator kind of brought people up to represent these, it's not play acting, but, to represent family members who were in the famine. And of course, this is a horrific picture, horrific thing to think about, but the kind of sense was one that on a completely unconscious level, she was trying to eat for them. Right.
Yeah. So she can't even. So she's no way she can fathom that. So she can't fix her problem.
Exactly. So she was on some kind of unconscious level, and it literally was unconscious. It was literally cellular memory was trying to load up for them. But what the constellation was able to do was to reveal that she has abundance, and that they would want her to have abundance, and so there was no need. And the really incredible thing was that I went back to the same constellator, and the same woman was there, and it was about 3 months later, and I walked in and I didn't even recognize her, and suddenly I thought, oh my god. And I said, I hope you don't mind me saying, but you look incredible, you have lost so much weight. And she went, oh, I've never even thought about it. I've never dieted. I've done nothing different at all. I'm just really happy. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That is beautiful.
It is incredible stuff. Yeah. But what I was going to say before I went off on that tangent was, yes, some of it is the cellular memory stuff, that's literally kind of held in the cells. And some of it is linked to sort of childhood experiences and stuff. I mean, you mentioned the thing with your mum. It may not necessarily be that you were that she passed anything on to you, as it were, but it might be that you as a child saw from your perspective that you had to carry it, as it were, that you were carrying it for her, because that's what kids do. They carry our stuff.
I actually interviewed her the other day. It's like, it's part of my Elementum coaching, and we had a good chat for about an hour on my childhood. And one thing that she got really upset about and apologized to me was putting too much on me too soon and too young, because I was the eldest of 4 kids, and my dad was always emotionally unavailable and a lot of times physically unavailable, because he worked away a lot to try to make the money up. And we had there were no credit cards or anything like that back in the day. You know, he just had to work his nuts off to get the money in. And she was, you know, she was really upset about that, you know, and I was able to, you know, to say, that's okay. That's okay. I can see completely how that would happen. It's really interesting though, isn't it? How you can, like, for me, like how you can be swayed by different things you read. So I think when I was reading Wallen, I was thinking to myself, wow, imagine if the trauma of an 18-year-old girl having a child and then the guy ditching her in the 70s, where she's going to have a bastard and everybody's going to like really like look down on her and ridicule her and call her a slag or a slut or whatever. And I'm like, wow, that must have affected me. But then I was reading this book by Kelly McGonigal. Is it Kelly McGonigal or Jane McGonigal? It's one of the McGonigals. And it was about stress. She was saying that there's a lot of evidence and tests that show that someone who goes through a lot of stress like that when you're young or whatever, actually when you're older, you have a greater stress resilience, or you view stress in a different way. So her book says that, and again, this is really interesting for listeners who drink alcohol because of stress. It's not the stress that will get you, she says in her research, it's what you think about stress. So give my immigration thing right now, like there's a part of me that is like, okay, bring it on. Like the universe is challenging me right now because it thinks I'm capable of taking this on. What is the lesson to be learned? So I'm looking at stress in a very positive way. McGonagall believes that comes from my childhood when I was faced with stress all the time versus people who, I don't know, were mollycoddled or their stress was alleviated because they were always looked after, and then they fall apart, or they look at stress as, oh my God, I got stress, I'm going to have a heart attack. Whereas I was in the shower the other day, and my hair started falling out. Right. So I knew my hair was falling out because I was stressed, but I wasn't stressed about my hair falling out. Does that make sense? Like I was like, oh, my hair's falling out. That's because I'm slightly stressed. Instead of being like, oh my God, my hair's falling out. I must be having a heart attack again because stress is really bad. I'm like, no, stress is telling me, Lee, you need to calm down. You need to cool down. You need to take a breather. You need to ground. You need to take an action to solve this. So I think like how you view stress is, but yeah, I went on that tangent because I think when you're reading certain books, you get so much contradictory information.
Yeah, you do.
You've got to make it your own. Like what works for me.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that's really true. I mean, I think, I think a lot of people do get a bit blindsided when they've stopped drinking, and then they suddenly have kind of almost like flashbacks to stuff that happened when they were drinking. I mean, I always say my kind of golden rule on that one is whatever it is that whatever memory comes back to you, don't try and deal with it when you're in the first few weeks, because that is not the time, right? That's not the time to be going and, fessing up to anyone or
the old, isn't that one of the 12 steps?
Oh, what, going and facing your someone you've done wrong or whatever. Yeah.
Well, a big list of them, and then going out and smashing them out.
Exactly. I mean, I had a brilliant guest on the podcast recently on forgiveness and just what freedom forgiveness can bring. Which doesn't mean you have to condone people's actions, of course, but you can still go through a ritual of forgiveness. But then that, of course, means for being able to forgive yourself. And I think, just like most of us are are pretty kind to other people and we're quite nice to other people, we're not very nice to ourselves. and similarly, we're not very good at forgiving ourselves. We feel that we are unforgivable and unlovable. And so the stuff that we've done in the past, or maybe when we were drinking, and, you know, God knows we've all got a catalogue of stuff that makes us just feel chilled when we think about it, really. Really, actually, we should go through those rituals and forgive ourselves.
Yeah, I tell you what I see a lot in my clients is people saying, I can't forgive myself for the way I treated my children.
Yeah.
So that's a major one.
That's the big one. Yeah.
So I had a client just this weekend gone by, actually, similar type of thing. It was like, Lee, you know, I just can't wrap my head around how I'm going to move forward because I just wasn't there for my children. Yeah. But particularly around divorce and separation, that kind of thing, right? Yeah. And, you know, what we spoke about was, it was like, hey, look, you know, right, obviously there's a forgiveness piece here, okay? But I said to him, you know, my thoughts on forgiveness is it needs to be right. It needs to be the right time, because we can, if we don't pitch it right, you could end up going through a process of forgiveness, but there's no meat behind it, right? Like there's you're not really forgiving yourself, or you're not really forgiving your misjudgments, or you're not really forgiving your incorrect beliefs or assertions or whatever, or behaviors. You're going through a process. So it was, I'm a great believer, Janey, that ahead of the forgiveness must come an emotional release. So what I said to this guy was, hey, let's work towards the emotional release. Let's do some work towards, you know, how do you feel emotionally about what you've done, right? Yeah. And let's let that release. If you're angry, let's go and find a tree and fucking smash it up with an axe while screaming at the top of our voice. If you're sad about it, let's fucking blubber and cry. But we need to slowly get there. Then when we've got there, we can do the forgiveness piece. And then the other big part of it, you know, we discussed was, hey, you know, like your kids just want you to be a great parent now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like right now. We might be thinking, holy shit, I was the worst parent in the world back then, but they're thinking, I just want him now. I want him here now. Why isn't he there? So we were then able to brainstorm, what does it mean? What do you want? What kind of father do you want to be? Well, how do you want to show up for your kid? Forget the fact that you have an ex-wife that won't let you see her, who's met somebody else, and she don't live with you, and you only see her 2 hours a week or whatever. Like, what do you want to how do you want to show up as a parent? I want to do the dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's brainstorm together some ways in how actually you can show up for your daughter. You know, learn her love language, learn the way she ticks, and hey, it could even be to connect with your kid that you actually don't see her on that weekend, but you organize something for her and her mates that is really super special. And she's like, oh, wow, my dad did that for me, you know, but it's all about, let's just focus on being a great dad now. And then whilst you're doing that and you can feel that connection start to grow, I actually think a lot of that stuff, the shame, the regret, the forgiveness, it lessens in intensity. Yeah. And then when you're ready to take it on, it's not as overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes back to that thing of being present, doesn't it? Being fully present now, as you say, rather than now living in the past, you know, all that stuff that went down. Interesting enough, as you were talking about that, I was thinking of, you know, also, you know, those of us who've got parents and all of that. One of the things that Mark Wolam says is one of the best things you can ever do is to tell your parent or tell your mum, so for example, something great that she did for you when you were a kid, right? Even if, you know, even if there wasn't a lot of great stuff. And I mean, I had a real big, you know, kind of light bulb thing change with my relationship with my mum through family constellations. And there was an awful lot of stuff went down, and it wasn't the easiest of relationships by any means, but I was able to turn it around through family constellations. So I went to see her just very recently. She's in a care home now. And I consciously put that in place. So I kind of kind of racking my brains, and I'm thinking of a couple of things that I was able to say to her that didn't sound too, completely wild. I managed to work the conversation. So I was able to actually say, remember that time when whatever it was, and you did that for me, and it was just great. And I think about it even now. Oh my God, the look on her face. And that's exactly what Mark Welling said, because the average parent will think that they were a shit parent and will still be carrying that.
And they'll get that feedback.
And
because we'll just moan at them.
Yeah, because none of my kids will be listening. So I can say quite clearly that none of them would ever say anything nice about me. So clearly I feel like I'm a shit parent. But maybe one day they'll read his book. But that's it, isn't it? But, everyone thinks that they're a shit parent, and they carry that unless they've done a lot of this work. So actually tell them even if it's only one small thing, it's worth it, right?
I tell you, if you want your kids to step up and recognize you, right, then one way of doing that is being a son or being a daughter to your parents.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. So, they see that.
Yeah, because we complain about, like, I complain about my mum and dad as a 46-year-old man, but then when I ask myself, well, how can I be a son right now? How do they want me to show up as a son? And it's very different. So just recently, I was able, I actually didn't get him on the phone, but I sent my mum a video to my mum and dad when I was in the moment, just to say to them, particularly around the money thing, because I had a money story that we never had enough in, and that was why I got picked on. But now I recognize that actually they did something very brave, and they dodged codependency with money. If they only had 30 quid for the week, we were eating baked beans on toast all week. And I admire them for that now, but I've given them so much shit over the years for it. So I was able to say to them, hey, I just want you to know that you did a great job. Like, you did a great job. The way that you didn't go into debt, you own your own home now. Like, all right, everything, you did a great job. And I want you to know that, because I know you consistently get feedback that you're shit, that you did it. Because that's what happens. You go through the work, you do the inner child work, you do your traumas, and then you ring your mum up and say, hey, just wanted to let you know I've just done this work. And you're the reason why I'm fucked up.
Yeah.
And like they kind of know that anyway. So you need to balance it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And just one more thing on that. I'm a believer, Janey, that I screw up a lot. So I need to constantly seek forgiveness. So for me, being someone who's easily, like, I forgive people so easily. And I think the reason I do is because I'm always after other people's forgiveness. I just, you could do anything to me and I'll forgive you. I'll just be like, okay, what is the reason why this person's doing this right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
I think if you're willing, I think, as well, being sober just definitely helps with some of this stuff, because you have a little bit more time, you have a bit more compassion, I think. Whatever your kind of trait is naturally, I think most sober people have a bit more compassion, because, they've been there, done it, had a shit time, got through it. And they have more compassion for other people. And I think you just do become kinder. I'm sure we've said this before. If more people were sober, the world would be a kinder place. I really believe that, actually.
Definitely. I agree.
Yeah, you definitely do become, but not always necessarily kind to yourself, or not as kind as you need to be.
No.
Yeah.
Again, you can't just stop drinking and hope that everything just fits into place.
Absolutely.
It's the precursor to being a human being who is committed to working on themselves so the day they stop dying. Until the day they stop breathing. It's not like, I'm going to do some self-help this year. It's not. You either want to grow and evolve in whatever way and shape that looks like, or you don't.
And what would you say then is the place to start then? Because there might be somebody listening to this who's they've stopped drinking, they've kind of cracked that piece, and they get this, but maybe they can't necessarily afford to go into a coaching at the moment. But where would you say, where's a good place to start?
Like there's so much power in coaching, and okay, I'm going to say something really controversial. We live in the Western world. I don't think there's anybody listening to this podcast who can't afford coaching.
Yeah,
they just have a story.
Yeah, exactly.
That prevents them from investing in themselves.
That's true.
Now that story could be, I'm a housewife. Luckily, I'm listening to you. I really want to invest in coaching, but how am I going to talk to him about it? How am I going to get him to give me the money? Right? Like, any financial book you will read upon, like if you just take like Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad, for example, he talks about the difference between good and bad debt.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go out and buy a load of shit we don't need, or we're going to invest it in education, because that is like compounding your knowledge and your ability to, like, you cannot put a price, like I'll tell you, like Elementum Coaching Institute, I pay $10,000, right? My relationship with my wife now, it's like I just met her. Like I would pay that 10K 10 times over. And I didn't pay the 10K. I didn't have it. I spoke to a friend of mine and said, I really want to do this, and I think I can change a lot of lives with it. Would you invest in me and I can pay you back? He's like, yeah, whatever. Pay me back when you can, right? Now this is the truth. That was one thing I did. Like, let's say I was to write a brainstorm of all the ways I can make money. That was number one. And he said, yeah. I could have gone 1,000. I could have put a GoFundMe campaign together. Hey, it's Lee. I want to make 10,000 to do this training course because I think I'm going to help everybody. So if you want to help yourself, the biggest block is yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me tell you the regular, when someone comes to me and jumps on a call with me for coaching, for example, I'll tell you two different calls, right? They split into two different paths. Number one, now there's three. Number one, and please don't do this if you're listening, right? Number one, oh yeah, I'm in 100%. Send me a link. I'm going to do this thing. And then they disappear and you can never get hold of them. That is why you're drinking alcohol, because there is a massive ability there to go out of integrity. Number two, I can't do this. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the mental capacity. I can't, right? Then number three, there's four. Number three, yeah, where do I sign up? Number four, and these are the ones I love. Oh my God, I want to do this so badly. But I can't afford what you just said right now. But I want to do this so badly. How can I do this, Lee? And I'm like, okay, let's make it happen. I can sense that you want to do it. I want to work with you. Let's make it happen. Let's not make money be a barrier. There are 1,000x ways we can make this happen. That is a difference. Look at the difference. Oh, I really want to do this, but I don't know how to do it, versus I can't do this. It's a story issue.
Yeah.
And if you can't put your hand in your pocket to, I don't know, pay £297 to do Janey's next course, for example, that story will impact you all over your life. So when your kid comes to you and they need 297 for something that's going to grow them, you will say no. When this happens, you will say no, because your story is, I don't pay money for this, right? I cannot give this to myself. It's all about loving myself, like you were saying earlier on. How can I forgive myself? How can I love myself? What does self-care look like? So the biggest transformations in my life have all come at the end of me putting my hand in my pocket and paying somebody who's better than me to teach me new tricks or new ways of being or philosophies, right? So
well, they're not better than you. They're ahead of you, maybe. They're not better than you.
Wrong way of saying it.
But,
ahead of me, further ahead of me down the path, right?
Yeah.
And get into communities of people who you admire, because if you're trapped in the store, let's say, let me give you a good example. Okay, Bernadette Jiwa is an astronomically amazing marketing storytelling genius from Australia. If you was to hire Bernadette Jiwa, she would probably cost you multiple thousands of pounds. She probably wouldn't even do it, right? Because she gets paid by companies like Google, et cetera, to hire her, right? But she runs a private little community called The Right Company, right? Where you pay X amount a month. Now, if you get into the right company, pay X amount a month, guess what? Now you're on calls and rubbing shoulders with Bernadette. While you're on calls, rubbing shoulders with Bernadette, you can talk to her and you can extract knowledge and information from her, because that's what she's for. And that's what a community is. So you're not getting a one-on-one Bernadette time with just you and her for an hour, but she's there if you turn up on every call. So also think about how much juice you can extract from everything. So Janey talked about reading Mark Rowland's book. She's now reached out to him. She's going to interview him. She's squeezing more juice out of him. If they get on and really like each other, she could probably say, hey, Mark, do some work with me. And you never know, right? So there's all different ways you can do this. Trading is another way. My wife, massage therapist, she told me for years she never paid anyone to do her teeth, because she massaged her dentist and her dentist fixed her teeth. Just got to think outside the box.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. Well, I guess we should wrap up. Anything else you want to share? I know, didn't it? Anything else you want to share with us?
Anything else I want to share? It sounds like I just plugged myself for the last 10 minutes.
Not at all.
Anything? Yeah, I've just come out of this 6-month coaching container. I am absolutely on fire. I'm bubbling. I'm doing some really great work. So if you're interested in coaching, give me a shout. Right, at 1kdaysober@gmail.com. If you have that story that blocks you from investing in yourself, don't bother. Don't bother. Just come if you want to find a way to make it work. Other than that, no. We're coming out of this COVID thing right now. It's been really hard for everybody. Just keep asking yourself, what is it that I have to do now? What's the next thing I have to do? Just slow yourself down. What is it? What is the next? When you're anxious, what is the thing I got to do right now? So today it was, I just need to get on this call with Janey Lee and have a chat, right? Like don't propel yourself too far into the future. Just keep it within it, within your eye shot or your ear shot or whatever.
Yeah, I think, and that's so true, because I think, one thing that's happened to all of us over the last God knows how many months is we've all spent a lot of time, if we've not been careful, in that fight or flight or freeze mode, particularly if you put the bloody news on in the UK, if you start that doom scrolling thing, or you switch, people are waking up and the very first thing they do is switch the news on. Oh my God. It's like, what fresh hell is there today? And that
you've been in my mum's house then.
But seriously, you can just get yourself into such a state of fear. It's the title of a book. But such a awful state of fear. And it's insidious, because it's on and on and on. And then it's something slightly different. And at the moment, no one can get any fuel, and you can't get to drive anywhere because there's queues everywhere. That's if you even have got any fuel to drive.
Fear again.
Fear. Awful low vibration. And it lowers your immunity. It just people just stay in that place. And I think sometimes when it's like that, you do just have to come back to the moment and just, okay, right, in this moment, I'm okay. There isn't actually a tiger. I know it kind of feels like that. And I've got to run, or I'm just about to be shot or something, but I'm not. I'm okay. So you're right. You have to come back to drop back into your body and just ask, okay, what's going on right now? I'm
it's
safe.
Not fuel. If it's not fuel, it's toilet roll. Or there's always something, and you'll always find a way. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You'll always find a way.
Yeah. Lee Davy, you're an absolute star. I love chatting to you. Thank you so much for making time.
No worries. Loved it.
And who knows when we'll get to meet up. We keep saying we'll do an event or something together.
I know.
I mean, God, I think we said that before the whole sky fell in, didn't we? You know, so we didn't. Well, how could we have known?
I'm looking at another 12 to 14 months before I can even leave these shores, because the travel document is 20 months. So let's just cross my fingers and hope I can get something soon, and then I'll come and see you.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, Lee, thank you so much. I'll put all your links and everything in the show notes as usual.
No worries. Okay.
Appreciate it.
You.
Cheers. Right. So check out Lee's work at 1000 Days Sober. Don't forget I offer coaching too, very limited number of clients that I take on, but do get in touch if that's something that resonates with you. Obviously, if you want connection, I'm going to tell you, join the Sober Club. Of course, I'm going to say that. I already mentioned if you're doing Sober October, or if you just want to answer a few kind of important questions for yourself about whether you're really ready for change, then you can just go to thesoberclub.com and you can download a kind of a free fill-inable PDF. That's the best way to describe it. It's just a few insightful questions. You know, I've had people say to me, actually, by answering that for myself, it really made me realise what was going on. So you know that I've said this loads of times before. The real question isn't how much am I drinking, although, I mean, clearly it's important not to be in denial. But the real question is, could my life be better physically and emotionally without the booze? And if the answer to that one is yes, then go for it. You know, whether you do that for October and beyond or whenever you start, just absolutely go for it. If you're doing all of this, then give yourself a massive pat on the back, a massive hug. We do have another Sober by the Sea event, by the way, Saturday, November the 6th. So getting quick, there's a tiny number of places. So it'd be lovely if you wanted to join us for that. And we have our Champneys event as well, on November the 20th. You'll find everything at thesoberclub.com. I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by The Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.